Hey there, welcome to our channel. Let's continue with our series. So our routes are pretty much covered, right? Let's go to our service right now. So in the order service, you can see we have left all the placeholders where we need to fill our code here. Let's kickstart with our create order. So create order is pretty much explanatory, right? So while we're going to create the order, definitely we need to do a couple of steps right there. One by one, all the steps we're going to cover. So first of all, let's try to find card by user ID or maybe customer ID, you can say, right? Customer ID. Then once we are going to we are able to find the proper card, right? Then what we can do, we need to calculate all the card items, right? So we need to make sure, like, how much money we have. We need to search it, all right? Or maybe we have how much money we have searched already for creating this order. That is definitely we need to get it back, right? So let's try to do that one. Then once we have calculated all the order amount, so make sure like add or maybe create order line items, order line items from card items, right? So this is what we will be getting all the line item informations right after create the order also. So user can see, like, they have placed the order, but what are the items inside the order? So that is also we can keep it track, right? Because in the card we're storing all this information. So somehow we need to transfer all this information to our card line item, right? So we will be going through a loop through all the card line items, then we will be transferring to order line items, right? Because we could have used directly the card line items, but some of the parameters are not required in the order, in case of the order, right? So that's why we're just keeping like this way. And finally, so once that is done, then we're going to create the order, right? Create order with line items, right? And once this is create order with the line items is done, then what we need to do, we need to fire a message, right? Fire message to subscription service, right? So this subscription service is going to be like any service. As an example, in our case, this is going to be catalog service to update the stock, right? So this is what we are going to do. And finally, if everything is going well right there, so we don't care about like whether this is fired or not, because this is a kind of, you can say, totally loosely coupling call. That is, it is going to fire to our message broker, right? So it's up to message broker responsibility. While it is going to consume this event, then deduct the stock, then we don't care about it at all, right? So only we care about all the state, right? So find the card, calculate the total order item, right? Then create the order line items, right? Then create the order, fire the event, and return it just like success message, all right? Return success message, right? So in this case, one by one, we will be going to handle everything, right? So while we're going to create the order, all right, here, we will be handling, wiping out the card items from there as well as, right? So that is, we are going to handle right there. All right, so now let's add some code one by one, all the steps, right? So here, const card, await. We have already card repository. Then let's try to find it out, how we can find the card. So in this case, let's say find card, right? So here we can find the card by providing the user ID, right? So if you go to this card repository, let's see what are the parameters we are receiving right here, find card. And if you go to the implementation of this function, you can see we are finding out all the cards by using the customer ID, right? So here you can see where card equal to customer ID. That ID we're just providing from here, right? So let's go ahead and add the user ID here, user ID. And so we have now our card. So if we don't able to find the card, right? If we not be able to find the card, then definitely we need to throw some kind of error. So we can say card not found, right? And if card is there, right? If card is exist, then let's try to calculate the card amount. So in this case, let card total will be by default it will be 0. All right, so now let's try to create order line items, right? So this is going to be let order line items, and order line items will be our order line items types. So this is, we have already created one line items types right here. You can see, right? So we can use this this type right there. And now we will be going to look through all the cart line items and push to the order line items, right? That is what we need to do. So in this case, like cart line items for each, right? For each, and here we'll be saying the item, right? And we will look through everything, right? So first of all, what we need to do, we need to find it out like the cart total, right? So this cart total, every time we will go through the line items, need to calculate the price and the quantity and add to the cart total, right? So let's try to do that. Cart total, item quantity, and item price. So you can see item price it's giving some kind of error. So why it is saying error? So if you hover it, it says the price is going to be any, right? So because it's not returning a proper data type. So that's why what we need to do, we need to cast it, right? So let's cast it to number, right? Then it is fairly going to comply. Right now we are having the cart total, right? Every time, every item we will be looped through. Second one, we'll say like order line items, right? That push, and here we are going to add whatever the data we have available right there. So that is, we are going to push it. All right, so let's try to create now order input. So const order input will be our order with line items, right? So here inside this order with line items, what we can do, let's go to order with line items and make sure like we have the exact schema that is we have been used for our schema here. Because so while we are going to create our order, then definitely our order schema has to match with the current data. So what are the important informations we needed right there? The order number is needed, the customer ID is needed, amount and status, right? So these are the stuff we're going to provide it. So let's grab all the stuff from here, right? And go to our order with line items. So make sure like we are aligned together. First of all, the customer number we have, this customer number, order number we need to be at, because this is not order ID. This is going to be our order number, right? The transaction ID is going to be needed. That's fine. Amount will be there, and status will be there. That's for sure, right? So I think we have covered everything. We have order number, we have customer ID, we have amount, and we have status and transaction ID. All right, cool. So we are good at this point, right? Maybe the similar stuff we can review for our order line items as well as. So in order line items, we can have like ID, product ID, item name, right? And the quantity, right? And then the price. The order ID, this is not exactly required, but just let it be right there, because we will see the incorporations also. And now let's go to our order service. All right, so now let's try to fill this order with line items data type, right? So in this case, order number will be some kind of like random number we are going to assign, because order numbers is not supposed to be our serial number of our database, right? It has to be some readable number. So this is what we are doing right here. And then transaction, we can say transaction txn. So for a while, we are gonna put some kind of like maybe string or some kind of null. Maybe you can set to null as well as. So let's check it out. What type of data type it is? It is a string, right? So we can just put a null also here. That's not an issue, because transaction number we have not received here. While we are going to deal with our payment stuff, then we are going to update this transaction number. Customer ID, we have the customer ID, because customer ID is this user ID. Then we can say amount. Amount will be our cart total, this one, right? So this cart total, right? And again, amount we are assigning as a kind of string, right? And then order items, right? So these are we are just creating, right? So this amount stuff we are going to handle, right? Because we need to look it back our database, like what type of data we are storing right there. So it has to be generic for everywhere. Because we need to store this amount as a kind of sometimes maybe cent, or sometimes maybe in some kind of like solid value, just like, maybe $120, right? So some of the PSP or some of the premium service provider, they are just like using all the amount in cent. So this is we are going to deal with shortly, right? And now we have the order input. So let's try to create the order, right? So here we are going to create the order. Const order will be await repository and the create order. So this is our order input. This is what we need to send it, right? So what it says, like order number, amount, but required type is a kind of order line items. All right, so let's try to cast it. Maybe why it is sending like this? Maybe we are missing the status here. I think status is pending. All right, cool. So you can send it to capital letter or maybe small letter. It's up to you. Like, what are the ways you can assign the status? But if you're using some kind of status, definitely it should have to be generic. So in our case, we can use maybe the best way to store the status is like enum, right? So maybe let's go ahead and create one enum here. Inside DTO, where we kept all the types here is the type, right? So maybe this is subscription type only. So here maybe we can just create the order types, or maybe order types, order dot ts, right? So here export enum, you can say order status type, order status, all right, order status enum, and here we can say pending is pending and processing is whatever, like whatever the order status we can assign it there. So let's try to use this order status there. Then here maybe we need to export here as well, as so we can have one export groups. So you can just refer to types, then you can get the access to the order types. So here in the order service, instead of this pending, we can say order type, order status, we can say pending. All right, cool. Now we have everything here, right? So it is giving us this kind of string. This is really cool. And we are creating the order. Once we have received the order, then definitely make sure like we are going to fire the event as well, as right. So in this case, let's say await, right? The publish or message broker or whatever it is, we are just like publishing this event. That is what we need to do. So let's try to comment it out for a while, because let's try to accomplish the rest of our other functions. Then once we are functionality wise, we are able to deal with the records like it is purely getting inserted in our database. Then we're going to hook it up with our publisher events, because as you know, like right now, if we are going to enable this one, every changes we are going to do, it is going to take again some time to restart our server, right? So to get rid of all this stuff, we are just like commenting out for a while. And finally, if everything goes well, then what we are going to say, the message order created with the order, all right? The order, like we can send it back the order as well as. So it's up to you. But in a normal case, what we can say, order ID will be order.id, all right? So this is what we can send, or maybe order.number maybe, or what you can say, this order number. Let's try to store this order number. Order number will be this one, and this is what we are sending it here, because that order number has to display in our front end, right? So that's why maybe this is order number. Okay, cool. So at least a customer can see this is the order number. Your order is successfully created with order number 12345, whatever, right? So this order, why we are just keeping here, because we need to send this order event to here in the Kafka, right? So that's why we're just keeping there. So maybe what we can do, just for safer side, maybe we can just like log it the console so we can see it, right? All right, so now our create order is done. But once we successfully created the order, then definitely we need to wipe it out our card items as well, as because card has to be empty, right? So let's try to do that. So that part we should not supposed to wait after the events, because already we have the order stuff right there. So let's try to here call here await and card repo, right? Card repo clear clear card data, right? The user ID. So you might have remember we have already created this function in our card repository, clear card data, right? So this is going to take care of like delete all the card items by user ID. So that's why we have just created this one. Now I think we are pretty much good at the create order. All right, so now let's move on with our update order. So in the update order, what we're going to do, first of all, let's try to update this status, right? So in this case, await, right? Await repo.update, update order, right? So in this case, update order, what we are going to provide the order ID, that is essential. Then second one will be our status, right? So this status exactly what we are going to receive, right? So you can define as a kind of enum also, right? So status will be enum. Then definitely you need to change it wherever it is going to be necessary. So if you're receiving the status from our routes, then you can assign it accordingly. Then maybe you can send it back right there. Okay, cool. Then what we can do, let's go to our routes and where we are providing all this update stuff, right? So I think pets here. Right, so here we are sending this data. So in this case, what we can say as right, so order status, right? So we are casting as a kind of order status right now, and the update order, you can define this one as a kind of order status, right? Order status, cool. So now we're fairly able to accept whatever the status we are going to provide it from our routes. That is we can accept here, right? So I think this is not marked as a kind of async. So let's try to mark as kind of async here, right? Because it was complaining while we are writing the await, we are adding the await in front of the function call. Now, once because at any point of time while we are going to update the order, it doesn't matter whatever the status it is coming right there. So based on the available status, it has to coming right there, or it has to update the order. Right. Then the second page, what we need to do, we need to check like if, right? So fire a message to subscription, the catalog service to update this stock. All right. So why we need this call? So because at any point of time, maybe we need to action or something like, maybe customer has canceled the order. Then we need to again whatever the stock we have deducted on the time of the plus this order, this one, right? That is we need to revert, right? So then our catalog service can revert all the stuff. So let's try to do that. So if we're gonna say like status, if status is order status is cancelled, right? Then let's fire this event. Let's await published order event, order cancel or whatever, right? This is also we're going to handle. So let's try to mark here as a kind of to do. Let's say to do implement, or maybe to do handle Kafka messages, Kafka calls, right? So this is, I'm just marking as a kind of to do, because once we are covered, then we are going to revisit this part. Now if everything is going well, then let's try to send a message order updated successfully, right? This is required. It doesn't matter where exactly this order updated order call is happening, maybe for a route or maybe for somewhere, but still we need to send a kind of message. Now let's go to get order, right? So where we are going to get the orders. So in this case, let's try to grab the order, const order will be repo.find order, right? So find order by order ID. So which order we are looking for, that order we need to report it, right? We need to give it back. So if we find like if there are no any orders, all right? So order, then let's try to send a kind of error message here. So throw order not found, right? Then if the order is available, then definitely we need to return the order, right? So let's try to return the order here. All right, so now let's handle the get orders. So in this case, const orders will be repo await repo dot find orders, right? Find order by customer ID. So which customer it is looking for the orders. So that is we are defining here. And again, we need to mark it as a kind of async here. Maybe we forgot to add async all these functions. So here it is already there. So these orders we will be looking at like if there are no any orders. So if the array dot maybe is array orders, and we're just like putting some kind of checks here, right? So if the order is not a kind of array, or if it is lengths are there, then it will return the order. Otherwise, what it's gonna say, it is gonna throw an error, orders not found. Right, cool. This is other way around you can do, like as a kind of guard function, you can directly check like if order doesn't have a value, or if it is not a kind of array, then definitely you can send it back like this also. If it's not a kind of array, then you can throw this one, right? So this is going to be more safer because you're checking the errors first, right? You don't know like how many errors step by step it will get, right? So you can imagine like handling all these errors step by step is going to be tedious, right? So rather giving the successful stuff, right, in the very first page, this is always convenient to check the error first and return it from there. So you no need to evaluate the rest of other errors, right? Now, finally, let's try to handle our delete order, right? So in this case, const result will be await report delete order by ID. And this result, we can just send it back right there as well, right? Or maybe we can handle this one in a different way by looking at the result. Let's say we don't care about the result, then we can say like result return will be true, right? True, right? So whether the order has been deleted or not, the result we are not caring about. So we are just like simply returning true from right after the delete order. Or maybe you can wrap it up with a try catch also. If delete is going wrong or some other way around, then we can throw the errors. But anyway, so this part is not our concern at all, because we are not operating this delete order frequently, because we're going to change the status only, right? That is what we have already handled in this case, right? Cool. Now our service stuff is already done, right? So let's go to our repository. All right, so now we are going to put our hands on cover this repository stuff. You can see this order repository, we have just created one object, and this object type is order repository type, right? And you can see here inside, we just kept all the functions. And you can imagine, while we are going to add all the codes for the create order or find order or all the functions, then this object size will be a massive one, right? So we don't wanna do that, right? So what we can do, we are going to split all these functions, like we are going to keep it out all the functions outside of this object, and we are simply going to refer to that the functions, right? So this is the way maybe this object will looks a lot more cleaner, right? So let's try to do that together. But before that, what we need to do, let's try to revisit our schema first, right? So here, let's go to our order. And here, a couple of fields, we just made it not null, but maybe we need to get rid of the not null, because those are the stuff, really it's not required to make it not null, right? Maybe we can keep it optional, because it's based on our requirement. Maybe we can update all the values in the further step. But as of now, those things we need to take care. So first of all, let's see this one by one, all the fields. The ID it's perfectly fine. It's primary key, and order number. This is also fine. Order number is not null and unique, and customer ID also it's going to be not null. That's fine, right? Amount, this is really needed, but status is not required. All right, status is not supposed to be. We can keep it not null, but still we need to provide some kind of default status right here. As an example, default, right? Default we can say pending, but again we're not considering it has to be a kind of not null field, right? And transaction ID, we may while we're going to create the order, maybe we may not receive this transaction ID, right? So that's why we are just like leaving this as a kind of null, right? And created and updated is perfectly fine. So these are all good. And now let's come to our order line items, right? So here, order line items, the ID is primary key. This is fine. And ID name is not null. This is cool. All right. The quantity is also it's going to be okay. Amount is perfectly fine, because amount is necessary. And you can see this amount and this amount, this price. It's totally, though we are just keeping the kind of like the same attributes, but still, this is like on one product item, right? And this is the aggregated one for the whole order, right? And order ID also, it's fine. Like order ID is going to be needed because this is a kind of incorporation we're gonna make it without with the order line items and orders. All right. So this is it's needed. And finally created it and updated it. So all those things are definitely it's going to be needed. That's why we're just keeping it not null and default as well. Now let's check it the types. Order line item type. This is we have just like created from our order line items for this one. And relation also it's okay because we are just like creating one relation with many to many, right? And finally the order item relation also we just created 1 to 1, right? So one order line item can have the one order, right? So this is what we just added there. So let's try to save this file. And if you see here in the index.ts file, you can see like we have only exported the card, right? So, and if you see here, while we're just like, running the application, maybe where we have the configuration, DB connection configuration. So here we can see we are adding this schema right here, right? So this schema will be, it will be referred to this index file. So that means like while we are going to run our application, it is not be able to reach to our order, all right? So it is only able to reach to our card because we have imported this one in this index.ts file. So while it is going to refer to schema, then it is reached to index.ts. So let's try to export the order as well as, right? Export star from order. All right, order. Perfect. So now we are done in this part. So what I'm gonna do, I will be going to again here in the repository. Then I'm gonna create all the functions one by one, right? All right. So now we're going to create all the functions together. So what we can do right now, I'm not gonna hold you very long. So I'm gonna create all the functions quickly. Then we're going to explain. We will go through line by line all the codes together, right? Perfect. So now we have created all the functions, right? So first of all, we have created the create order. You can see like we are accepting this line item, right? So line item is a type of order with line items, right? That is we are going to pass from our order service from here, right? So you can see here while we're creating the order, right? So yeah, this one we are passing it on, right? So this is the type exactly which is we are passing it from here. And while we have just to create the first order, right? So you can see this result. From this result, because it's a kind of result, we'll be giving an array, right? So inside that array, we need to find the ID. So absolutely, this is going to be in the first index of that particular array. And this is the way we can find it out, the first array and first element of the array. And if that element is a kind of object, then we can find it out all the object property from here, right? And now we have just figure out this ID will be returned from our create order, right? So while db insert this order, and these are the values we are just putting together, and we are checking it out if there are no any errors, all right? If the ID is there, all right, in ID is greater than 0, that means if it's a kind of non-zero value, then definitely the ID, the order will be created successfully. Then based on this ID, we have the order items, right? Because this order line items, if you see here in the past from order service, you can see these line items, we have just pick it up from our card line items, right? So, and here we are iterating to all the line items, right? And we're creating all the line items in our order items, right? You can see order line items, right? And we are defining here and this order ID. This is from here, right? So at least we can map the relation with the order and the line items, right? So this is the way we're just creating the relations. And rest of all the informations we are just keeping it here. So maybe we can add the product ID as well as, and we can inject it here. So we can keep track of all this stuff. But definitely we can deal that thing while we are going to fire this event, right? So not this one, this one. Then now we can see we have just created order and we have created line items as well as, right? And then this one, right, the find order, right? So this is very simple. What we are doing here, db query, as I have said, while we are adding this order file right here in the schema.index.ts file. And the first time if you're going to run the application, let's say yarn dev, right, then it will generate all the autocomplete, all right, all the autocomplete for you, right? So that is you can directly get like db query. Then if you put the dot notation here, then you can get it like what are the schemas that is already you have imported in this index.ts file. And sometimes it's giving error, like while you are, let's say we are creating some order, right? So here in the fields, if it is complaining, so make sure like in the fields you are providing here, that is exactly it is added right here as well as, right? So if it is mismatching with these fields and you are supplying some other fields, then definitely it will going to give you error, and then it will going to complain like values may be going to complain, and eventually the data type as well as, right? And if you face this kind of issue, so make sure you are just like drop your migration directory and you can rerun the migration, then it will going to create everything for you fresh, right? Sometimes it's happened, but this is not a kind of usual case, right? But in the development server, definitely we can do. But if it is going to a production server, then definitely we need to manually tweak and fix all these issues. So all right, so I'm deviating a little bit. So let's come back to once again to the track. So find order, we can see like we are querying our orders, right? Query.orders. We're finding at our schema, and we try to find the first item of the orders, right? So this is the way we can find it out. The find first where orders, right, equal, right, and this equal, you can get this equal from here, like from Drizzle ORM you can import it, right? And now we are defining like the order ID. If order ID is equal to this provided ID, right, this ID, then we will be getting the whole order. And you can see definitely we are loading the correlated data as well as for that order. And what are the correlated data we are trying to load here? With line items, right? So that means while we're gonna fetch this order, then it will come up with our order line items as well as. And finally, we are checking like whether if our order has data or not. If it is false, then throwing the error, and if it is not, then we are just like casting it to unknown and casting with this one, right? Because why we need to cast it? While it is going to return the data, sometimes like some data type, some mismatch gonna happen, but we are strictly providing some kind of the return type, right? That is already we have declared here, right, in the interface, because just for sake of usability in our order service, that is we are returning here as a kind of promise. And now update order. So update order, it's gonna happen on its status. As I said, like status can be anything, maybe cancel, maybe in progress, or maybe waiting, all right, or maybe archived. So we're simply updating the status here, right? So our update query is very simple, where again we are doing like just like insert, we db update. What we are going to update? The order schema, right? And we're setting what? We're setting status, right? And where again this equal we're using and order ID equal to provided the ID, right? And finally, once this is done, then we are returning as well as maybe this return is not required, but still you can directly use that return. But definitely it's up to you. Like maybe we can use the execute as well as, right? This is other way around. It's gonna work. Now you can see like while we're updating, it is going to give you the updated data, but again we need to reload we need to load this information as well as. That's why we're just like calling this one, right? So you can go ahead and check it out in the Drizzle ORM if there are possibility also where we can directly, once we're updating the data, we can load the correlated data as well as into return, right? But we don't want to deep dive into this complexity, because our focus is not to go deeper on the database side, where our focus is to go on like how we can communicate with the microservices, how we can get the job done with the help of Kafka. That is where our main agenda, right? So let's try to stick with the plan. Now we are just like returning the order from here, right, and throwing it here. Like if there are any kind of error, then we are throwing it here. Otherwise, we are returning the order, right? So in order with what? Order with line items. That's why we are calling this one, right? Now, by any case, like we need to delete the order, then we are just keeping this endpoint like this function, right? This is very simple. We're deleting the order schema. And delete what? Delete order schema, right? And this is the schema we need to mention for everywhere. You can see for update, for insert, right? And the similar way for delete also, where we are using equal and order ID equal to provided ID, right? And this is maybe not required to return. This is going to be, maybe you can say execute, right? And finally returning true, right? So we are not very much looking for the output from this delete call, right? Simply we are returning, like we are executing this one and we are returning true. And finally, try to find out all the orders by customer. We're simply providing the customer ID here, and we are returning this order with line items. It's a kind of array, right? And here also, finally, you can see this time we are not only finding one, we're finding many, because this customer want to see, like this customer want to patch all the order item with line items. Right? This is what we are doing here. Right? And finally, once this result is coming back, then again we are casting it, we are returning back. Now can you see like this object is pretty much lean, right? Very clean. So all the implementation, we just kept it here on the top, and finally we are exporting this one. Cool. So now our repository also covered. So now let's go to our service once again. Here, order service. So now this is the time where we are going to focus on our Kafka stuff, because as you can see, as soon as we are firing this event, like creating the order, then we need to work on this publish order events, and we need to consume these events in our the catalog service as well. All right. Now here already we have added this message broker, like inside this broker directory, you can see we have our one index file where we have added the API, broker type, and message broker also. So API, what we are doing here, just a kind of revision of like what we did in the API. So API we have used just for our synchronous call, right? So make sure API, while we need data, all right, we cannot wait for such kind of asynchronous events gonna happen, update the data, and we are not waiting for that, right? Customer is just waiting in your table, you need to serve it, right? So in that case, we're using APIs, right? So I'm just gonna say like product, like from order service, calling the catalog service, gonna say, hey, catalog service, please, they give me these product details. Customer need the name of the product, customer need the price of the product, right? Customer want to order it. So that's why we are calling all these API calls. And what is brokers? Or so you guys already know what is brokers, right? So there's no way to, again, I don't wanna make you bore, but again, the brokers are called, like these are some asynchronous call, like you can call through API as well as. You can simply just like put a kind of maybe you can make a post call or maybe get call, right? But you can just like leave it, right? So you just call that API and you just leave it. You're not caring about the response that is coming back. So this is the way also it can be doable, right? So without use of the message broker. But the complexity is like if your service is down, then your call will not going to reach to your destination, right? So it will be break in halfway. So there are no any way to like when your destination service will come back, there are no any way to consume that the past event or that particular call, right? Call record. So we are not keeping the record of all the stuff, right? But message brokers are especially like built such a way, even if you are firing one event, also your destination service is down, still your destination service, when it will come back, then they can revive all the calls, all the records, all the data, right? So this is the way we are going to do. So now let's go here in the application server. You can see like where this is our server where we are just calling our Express app, where we are just kickstarting our server here, right? So let's go to Express app. Here you can see we have just created all these methods, right? But somehow maybe due to some reason we just like commented out all this stuff, right? So what we are going to do here, we need to just like delegate all the calls while we're going to listen to that particular events. Then we need to delegate this event to somewhere, right? So where we are going to delegate, let's say some of the calls, let's say while our this order service will receive the confirmations from the payment service, then definitely they need to change this status, right? So where this data is gonna change, like if you keep all these things here, then again you need to write a like long, or maybe you need to write some spaghetti code right here also, right? So where as an example, this consumer, right? So consumer is the kind of function which is going to listen to all the events from our other services. As an example, the payment has received, all right, payment failed, all right, maybe order cancel, all these events gonna listen here. But you can see like inside this function on consume, here we are going to receive all the data, and here only we need to just like write all the business logic, right? But you can imagine then this file will be grow long, right? And we cannot keep this consumer in other file as well as, right? Because it has to be listen continuously. Otherwise, if we are going to put it in somewhere else, right? So it's not be able to handle all this stuff, right? So that is the thing exactly we are going to understand, right? So you guys can think like, no, hey, Jay, you are really making us bored, but not, right? So this is really important topic to understand, right? So let's try to understand all this stuff, like how we can asynchronously keep listen all this event, and how we can asynchronously like fire all this event without blocking our calls from the Express app right here. So at least we can serve our routes also peacefully, right? And we are not going to interrupt all this like consuming stuff also, and we no need to write this tight coupling logic. So somehow we are going to delegate all the stuff to service, right? So this service, as an example, the order service. If you go to order service, you can see we have already created one event, right? One function that is called handle subscription. Right. All right. So in the next episode, we are going to put our hands on purely working with our Kafka stuff, where we are going to write a couple of codes. Without hampering our Express app, we will be asynchronously call our message broker consumer and producer, and we will going to delegate some of the responsibility to our services, so it can power and listen the event as soon as it is occurred from the other side, right? And if you see here, we have already one Docker Compose file that is the kind of local broker we have created, right? So this is fairly enable. It's going to enable our local communications or local service communications. But when it comes to deployment, then definitely we need to take help of something else, all right? Either we need to set up this Kafka stuff in our one of the remote hosts, or better way, we will be going to use some kind of cloud tools, just like Confluent and some other solutions also I'm going to explain in the next episode. So we can prepare our deployment for the first phase of like the testing, right? And once that is done, we will be testing it together. And the final touch for user service, maybe we need to change something here, but I'm not going to discuss today as of now, because we need to create some kind of very tiny service for that also to collect the payment. So these are the two stuff. Maybe we will be going to cover it in one single episode. But in the next episode, we are purely focused on the Kafka for both the services. I hope you have enjoyed this video tutorial. And if you really like this video tutorial, like, share, subscribe. And this Christmas, we are going to announce something very special. So definitely this thing's going to help you very nicely, and you people will be hugely going to be benefited for that thing. All right, cool. Then see you in another episode. Bye-bye.